Right now, I'm going to give you a chance to hear how Jim Beis, the mayor of Pierrefonds-Roxboro, is going to react. Look, the budget came out earlier today. Pierrefonds-Roxboro, hardest hit, and by not even close. 7.2%. These are residential tax hikes. Jim, first of all, thank you for making yourself available. And second of all, I don't even know how you react to something like this where you're so far ahead of every other place in the city.
Well, thanks for having me, Aaron. I appreciate it. We're still actually in session right now. The tabling of the budget is still going on with the agglomeration portion to follow later this evening. So when we look at the budget, certainly, Natasha said it, she was upset at 5. I'd be upset at 2. So we're at 7. And when we look at, and I did an intervention actually live on council here, and I'll be posting that soon so people can really see how I feel about it. And what it means is in the borough tax portion that we are responsible for, and when you look at keeping the same mill rate, we had on an average home looked at increasing by about $40 a year. Still significant, but 1.15%. Knowing that Montreal would drop their tax increase in the weeks to follow, which they did today. And we found out, of course, that it would be 4.9 additionally on the overall formula that we have for taxation for the residential properties. Now, we're talking about a regular home here, an average home at 7.2. Some will be lower, but there will be others that will fall much higher than that. And so when you look at the residential increase at 4.9, of course, them saying that they're respecting the inflation rate, sure they did, but still 4.9, that's almost 10% in 2 years. And so the mayor today said count on them. And I made it very clear, count on them for what? For raising $5.2 billion that we were managing to 7 with nothing in return for us in a day-to-day operational basis. She talked about seniors. She talked about homelessness. And my take on that is, okay, well, what are we doing for the seniors when they want to downsize and we don't have enough affordable housing for them? The homelessness is another issue on itself. The food banks are exploding at the seams. They seem to believe that by maintaining or not raising the taxes during COVID, now all of a sudden gives them free reins to do whatever they want. And what I'm thinking is post-pandemic, we're in a more difficult time in every sphere of society than we were at the beginning of COVID. And so why are we all of a sudden now taking advantage of this and hitting people hard where it matters most? On an average home in my community could represent $250 additionally on their tax bill. That's unreal. That's unheard of in all the years that I've been in municipal government, 30 plus years. This is the first time that I have seen a disrespect and a disconnection of what's really going on the ground.
Jim, it's obvious how you feel, and I'm sure how residents there feel with that big of a hike. But
when we hear how this money is going to be spent, that's really what makes my blood boil. Like, okay, if it's being spent on absolutely essential services, but there's nothing essential about having Bixi in the wintertime.
Well, Natasha, you hit it right on the head, and this is something I've been saying for years as mayor of Pierrefonds-Roxboro, the largest community, and I talk on behalf of the West Island as well whenever I can. Don't tell me that we've increased public transit options in the West. Don't tell me that we've increased the crisis management initiatives to flood prevent. Don't tell me that we've done anything in terms of housing for the vulnerable and those in need. Don't tell me that we've injected money for the food banks that are serving now more than double, if not triple, the clients that they were serving before. These increases, in many ways, from what we've seen in years past, are meant to inject important funds to some pet projects that they have in other areas of Montreal, may be wanted by the populations that live there locally, but doesn't necessarily respond to the population at large. And so we will have a series of amendments as we go through the budget and through the commission, and hopefully they'll be receptive to it and maybe come about making some changes here, because this is completely unacceptable. We are working with skeleton staffs at the boroughs that give us basically no maneuvering, if you will, to increase services in the way that we like. And nothing in the budget today, especially at first glance, gives us that information.
And while you're working with skeleton staff, my understanding is the city in this budget is adding 400 more jobs to the city's administration.
Can you believe that, and not only that, we are requesting to the point where my administration receives regular information from the city center saying, well, we should hold back on hiring, we shouldn't hire, and there should be a hiring freeze. They also told us that a month ago they had $600,000 left in the material and equipment budget, which meant that if anything was to break, they weren't able to repair it until the end of the year because there was no more money in the budget. Do you know that $600,000 doesn't even represent the fuel that's required to operate the machinery? And so where they had to call an emergency meeting downtown to somehow find some money that was available for that budget. So any way you look at it, and in the best of times, and again, we can be as critical as we want as an opposition, but in reality, in the best of times, it's very difficult to manage the books as it is at a personal level in our own homes with our own families. Mm-hmm. But don't tell me that raising the budget over $2 billion in the time that they've been in office has given many of the communities anything in return, because it just simply hasn't. And this is what we're trying to dissect as we go forward. And then when the adopting of the budget happens in December, hopefully they'll accept some of our amendments and put some relief back in the community, because it's completely unacceptable that there's this disconnect. And then they pump their chests and they act as if everything is fine, and people all of a sudden will understand because they're doing it responsibly in the best interest of society. And to me, that's not what we see as not only as an opposition, but as an individual that manages the borough, especially on the West Island. I don't see that at all.
Jim Beis, Pierrefonds-Roxboro Mayor. Jim, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, folks. Thank you.